Going to install valve guides, seat the valves, cut new seats, possibly put new valves in it. And I'll be the first one to tell you to own up to it on the get-go. This engine actually, when I first saw this engine, when I first laid eyes upon it, I thought this was a much better engine than what it was. But what I wanted to bring to your attention is how you can fix a problem. And once this, and somebody did this, and now that they've did it, you have to make that decision there at your workbench where you are and here as I am, which I have to make the decision, and I done it based on some availability of parts, the machine and all. I'm going to show you what it is. I took this rod out. I removed this piston and rod assembly, and when I took the wrist pin out of it, immediately I thought that bushing was too thin, which it is. What has happened, I'm going to explain this to you. It will be a lesson learned, even though we do not have any machinery plugged in. You're going to learn something. This piston right here is too big. So this is the original piston out of that engine, which I have done already sourced. I done already got this piston here off that buy and sell place, and it was really corroded, and I cleaned it in the electrolysis tank. I could use it, but what happened, and I wanted to use this with an original rod and bushing, but also in the meantime, while I was contemplating all of this here, you know, what if and ands, I done already laid in a new bushing and a new wrist pin. It's one of the suppliers. You can get these right here if you need them. It's very good work. I may not have to use this because I'm pretty well stuck now that they drilled that cylinder out for this piston. Then this piston's too little. So I have to use this piston. So therefore, the reason I didn't want to use it, and I don't know what this piston's out of, but it works. Whoever did this right here was a pretty good mechanic. All except, I tell you what, a wrist pin. A wrist pin really, well, it's a requirement. I'm going to say if any acceptable machine shop class, this wouldn't get you a good grade right here. Oh no, you would have to stay after school if you turned this wrist pin in. The engine ran. That's the point I'm making. You can, and they put the bushings in the piston, and they made this wrist pin right here, and they honed that out really good right yonder. A little bit of play in there. So what I'm going to do, I have made the decision that I am going to put this all back together, this assembly right here, and this is what I'm going to run in the engine. I am going to hone the cylinder out, but I'm going to go ahead and use these old rings. I think they'll be okay, and they got them springs down underneath the bottom down yonder. It's a slant cut ring, 2 step cuts and a slant cut. All three has a expansion ring underneath the bottom right there. I believe it'll be okay. The engine appeared to have had some blow by, if you remember the initial. But that leaves me with a very good piston and rod assembly. I'll just wait for a crankcase to come along and build it. Where we're at also, in the meantime, I have done already, I got a head I fixed this engine. If you remember, this is the head that we work with. This is the subject we're working on, and I'm going to do this. But what had happened? They had a bushing in yonder. Someone had bushed. They drilled that out, put a bushing in there, valve guide. They put a valve guide in it, pressed it in there, and this was in that hole right there. Okay, in the meantime, it wore out, so now I have to put another valve guide in there, hone the inside out, and new valves. Well, This head here is the one that we brazed up. If you remember right, it's a good serviceable head, and I want to use this on this engine right here simply because it's got that oddball piston in there, and I don't want to use this other head here that I recently procured just in case I didn't want to use this one. But this one up here has got a 7/8 spark plug holes in there, fine thread. It looks good, but and this one right here has got a 1/2 inch pipe thread in it. Other than that, the dimensions are all the same. So what we're going to do is valve guides, and I do have another engine. I'm going to take it apart because I do have these. I'm going to show you this right here. These I elected to push that down and get that little pin up out of there. On both of them, you push that down. You have to hold that valve right there at the back. Push that down like that right there, and get that pin out of there. Once you get that out, your spring cage will come off. And these valves right here, y'all see them valves? You know, they're about $30 a piece, but this is as good a valve as they are on the market. Cast iron head, steel stem, and for these Fairbanks, you can opt to whichever one you prefer. The ones with the little key thing goes in there, the cut, or either you can get the ones drilled for the pin. I prefer the pins, each to their own. I think both of them were available when they built the engine. Some need different year models, so you be the judge on which one you want. But these are very good valves. Now what I'll have to do, and it's a pretty decent, the clearance, when I put the valve stem in yonder, you know, it's fairly tight, but it does have some play. It's serviceable. I really hate to put a guide in there. What I'm thinking is when I really clean that out with a wire brush, and it'll probably be oversized a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put new valve guides in here, and then we'll cut the seat. I'm going to face off this head like we did that other one. It's just standard good machine shop practice. When you're working on an engine, do it right, and you won't have to come back. This head it has no appearance of ever being cracked or anything. It's a good looking head. I was proud to get it. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to use the new valves in the better head, and then I do have another head over there, and we got these two valves right here to choose from, which might be serviceable. The only thing, it's been a slash cut plus a drill too. You know, you could overlook some things like that. And these two valves right here were in that head that I got the replacement. And right there is something that I just really ain't never seen before in my whole lifetime. That right there, that's new on me. It looks to me like, and I can't tell how that's welded on there, how they got them two pieces together right there, but it's simply amazing here in real life how they got that valve cut off and put this is a replacement, looks like. It's straight across, and then all once this is on there, it looks like it's some welding, but it don't appear to ever have adhered to this part. So I'm not going to use it because it would break off. If it broke off, it would be catastrophic to your engine. I'm just going to say, when you got something like that, don't use it. And this is probably an original valve here. I would say this was original out of that engine. I'm not going to use it. You can tell that it's been faced several times. So I may build a valve for it. But this is where we're at.